Are you looking to move to London, Ontario? Well, today we're going to go over the real pros and cons of what it's like to live in Ontario's fifth biggest city. I'm Justin Conica, one of the owners of Prime Real Estate Brokerage located here in London, Ontario. We have helped hundreds of families move and relocate throughout the city. So we have a lot of data on the good and the bad of what it's like to live in London, Ontario. Today, we're going to go over those pros and cons. So let's get started. Number one, property taxes. So of all the 35 cities in Ontario, London actually has one of the highest property taxes, but I'm going to offset that by saying we're also one of the more affordable cities in Ontario. And another reason that the taxes are so high is there's a lot of development happening in the area. So for future investment, that is actually a great sign. The second con about London, Ontario is one that all the locals will laugh about, and you'll figure it out when you're here. And that is there's a train track that runs right through the middle of downtown London. Literally 5 p.m. during peak traffic hours, there's a train, sometimes a freight train, that takes quite a while to go through downtown. But the good thing is we can tell you where all the alternate routes are and how to avoid that. And you'll learn that once you become a local, you can get around quite easily. The third con about London, Ontario would be when you travel, you're telling people you're from Toronto because it's a lot easier to find on a map. But that goes back to the first point that I made. The fact that not everybody knows about it yet is a great sign from an investment perspective. The city is very strong, very stable, and is actually one of the oldest historic cities in Canada. Fun fact, as a bonus, it was supposed to be the capital of Ontario, but I guess they realized the Thames River didn't matter as much as they thought it would, so the capital is actually Toronto. Now for the pros. I think one of my favorite things about London, Ontario is its location. If you look at a map, it is sandwiched between Toronto and Michigan. Why is this a good thing? Proximity to so many different things. You can fly out of Detroit if you want to fly within the US without actually having to go through customs every time. If you want to fly through international, you can go to Toronto. You can go north to the entire northwest coast of Ontario. There's some beautiful cottage country, or you can go south. Being sandwiched between Lake Erie and Lake Huron is absolutely amazing. And even though London is kind of that center of the market, if you drew an hour circle around London, the proximity of what you have access to is incredible. Blue flag beaches, conservation areas, good fishing. I mean, we know it all. Let us know if you're interested in anything specific, and we'll definitely tell you where to go. Second pro, which some may argue should be the first, is the affordability. So the average home price hovers around the 500 to 600,000 mark, but you can still get good product in the townhouse, condo market, and different areas of London in the high $200,000 to $300,000 ranges. Now, if you want to build a custom home, maybe you're Elon Musk and you want to relocate, I can find you some incredible land just outside of the city, and you can build that mansion for a fraction of the price that it would cost you in some of the larger major markets. But it is growing very, very quickly. We've seen rapid growth over the last couple of years. To give you an idea, the average price in London closer to 2013, I believe, was around $275,000. So if we're talking single family detached at 600 right now, there's a big gap in between, but don't be scared. There's a lot of product types that are still very affordable in London or within very close proximity. And the third pro about London, it is an actual community. London is the biggest, smallest town you'll ever meet. Everybody knows everybody twice removed, which actually gives you that sense that you're in a town. And it's pretty neat. So when you're in London, you look at all the different wards. The wards all have their own style and personality. So if you live in Old South, that's one thing. If you're in Upper Richmond Village, which is right here, that's another. If you're in Byron or Lambeth, it's all like a whole bunch of cities put together. But the travel time is very dense. I remember when I moved here, people thought driving 15 minutes was like going to Thailand. Meanwhile, you go to major metropolitan cities and traveling for 30, 45 minutes to get from point A to point B is pretty common. And if you drew that distance around London, it's amazing to see where you can get. And like I said, there's an amazing community, so diverse in so many different ways. So I would definitely say that's one of the biggest pros. And we have a bonus, a pro or a con, depending on how you look at it. Did you know that Justin Bieber, Ryan Gosling, and Rachel McAdams were all born here? Bieber, although he grew up in Stratford, I believe, was born March 1st, 1994. Gosling was born November 12th. Rachel McAdams, November 17th. McAdams and Ryan Gosling were best known for the movie The Notebook. So if you want to be somewhere in proximity to that, London is the place to be. Hope you enjoyed this episode. If you need any information when it comes to London, the area, the product types, or anything at all, you just want to connect, we're here for you. Feel free to shoot me a message directly.